thanks very much for the kind introduction. I'm still a bit overwhelmed by last night, because I got this award, especially because I got it from Plantagon, which I find it very inspiring, and I respect the people very much who work on this concept, beautiful concept. It's quite an adventure always, I think, innovation. And even if you don't arrive at your goal, you meet very interesting people, new ideas, and build new networks, and that's exactly what Plantagon is doing now. And also what we try to do over the last 14, 15 years, working on what we called concepts for industrial symbiosis. So that's where we started from, and we made some models. I don't think we patented anything, so if you, if you have some great ideas coming up from this, then please use the advice of the previous speaker. And so I will talk a little bit about what we did. I was also impressed by the lady from Singapore who already did so much really in practice. I didn't know that. I never was there. And also my respect for you in Singapore and what you already realized. Okay, I have to also see if this technique is working. If not, then it's my own fault. Yes, that's it. Well, I'll talk a little bit about what I call the greenhouse factor. I find it very appropriate to talk about greenhouses here. Coming from Holland, a country which has a lot of greenhouses, and also a lot of products exporting. Well, maybe that's not what we want, because we want to have it more locally, but we export a lot of those products. But I'm not only talking about vegetables here. I'm an animal scientist from origin, so I will start off with what I did work on some concepts for pig production. That's the one. Thank you very much. But first I start introducing my organization, which is a very small organization, only 10 people working there, with different sectors like arable farming, greenhouse farming, animal production, also on the food side and rural areas. And we have a budget of 10 million per year, euros, coming from the Ministry of Economic Affairs. So we are totally publicly financed. And we use this budget to do feasibility studies and do workshops, because our network is very important. We rarely come up with ideas ourselves. Mostly we get our ideas from the network. And we have an alliance with the horticultural sector, which is also very important in this regard. Well, the Dutch greenhouse sector, about 10,000 hectares. That sounds very, very much for a small country, but it's only 0.5% of our surface in land. It's located near the main ports, so that's mostly in the western part of the country, which is already crowded with cities. So we have really cities which are red spots, and around it we have the crystal areas, as we call them. That are the greenhouses. The production value is about 5 billion euros per year, and that's 50% of the production value of the agricultural sector in Holland. So that proves that it's really profitable to have intensive, high-density farming in a country like Holland. And we use up 10% of our natural resources, natural gas, and we use it for heating and CO2 supply. So that's really the fossil economy. So, and that's not really, of course, sustainable in the long term, but it's the reason that we have these greenhouses. Without the natural gas in Holland, we would not have been able to have the greenhouses as we do today. Yes, okay. Why greenhouses? I will go very quickly because the lady from Singapore already mentioned it. You can control growth factors. You have the extension of the growth season, which is important even in a country as Holland. You can grow products which are exotic, so not coming from Holland. Control pests and pollutants, easier than in an open environment. You have no predators, no birds picking at your cherries or whatever. It's suited for urban environments because it has a high density, high quality products. And we produce fresh food for the city. That's the reason for urban farming. Because we can call it urban farming almost, because the cities are really very close to the greenhouses in Holland, although they are not stacked yet. And it's very close to, we produce very close to the consumer in a circular economy. At least that is what it should be. It's not there at the moment, but that's, I think, the main reason for us to work on what we call urban farming. And we make efficient use of space, and we don't have so many transports. The first thing we worked on, that was, we started, I think, 1999, with agro-parks. And why agro-parks? Because over the last 50 years, Dutch agriculture was very much specialized. The greenhouse sector, arable farming, the dairy sector, the intensive animal production like the pigs, they were all separated in different farms, where just 50 years ago they were mixed. And those mixed farms had a big advantage if you talk about circular economy, because you could use the manure on the arable lands, you could use the products from the arable farming and feed the pigs. So that's just a simple example, but there are many more. I think the plant-animal relationship should be restored in one way or another without losing the advantages of specialized farms, because you can be more efficient, you can spend more on technology. So that's why we try to do this. Cluster different sectors, also combining it with industrial sectors, like for instance district heat, the electricity plants in urbanized areas, and recycle side products like CO2 and heat, and also nutrients. It sounded like a great idea, talking about it like this, but I will tell you that we met a lot of resistance. And you cannot imagine, if you see where we started from, such beautiful goals, but I think we had a very, maybe a very unlucky communication strategy, and also, but I will tell you more. Well, this is in fact an example of an agro-park, starting with the pigs, using the heat of the pigs, and it's really quite a lot which they just produce by putting the feed into the meat. Only 20% of the feed is put into the meat, and 60% is just body heat, and it goes in the air. So that's the first thing we want to use, and we can use it in horticulture. We can also use the CO2 for the horticulture, so we don't need to burn any natural gas anymore. So that was the idea. The manure goes to the digester. The digester produces biogas, like the speaker from Cleantech also explained. It's about the same process. We make electricity, and by burning the biogas, and that also produces CO2, and we use it in horticulture. And also the digestate, we work it up until by reverse osmosis, and then we have a fertilizer, a biofertilizer, and we can use it in greenhouses or in arable farms. And we have also electricity, biogas and heat, which we can deliver to other parts of the city. So that was the basic idea. But then we started designing, and this looked like this. A vertical farm, because we said, well, we can do it in a harbor area, because we wanted to do it large scale. And then at that time, we still thought the feed comes in from in Rotterdam, coming from South America. 1/3 of the feed for the pigs comes from South America. We don't use it directly for the pigs. Like for instance soya, we use it for the oil, for the humans, and the residue we use for the feed. So it's also a spin-off of our urban economy, in fact. But we positioned the greenhouse or the agro park in the harbor because there was the mainstream of the feed coming in. And we said, okay, we can make this combination of sectors, like the pigs and the greenhouses, as you saw before. We also added fish in the basin underneath the floor. We had some mushroom also there, and also some chicken. So that was the basic idea. And we presented it to the Minister of Agriculture, and he was very innovative. He was very innovation-minded. So he said, that's a great idea. And tomorrow, I go to Rotterdam. I already made an appointment with the director of the Rotterdam Harbor, and I will find a place for it. And this building, it was designed, it was 1 kilometer long and 400 meters wide, 6-story high. And then the next day, and it was our animal, it was also very unluckily planned, because it was the 3rd of October we presented it to the Minister of Agriculture. The 4th of October was our Animal Welfare Day in Holland. And the headings on our main newspaper were, the Minister of Agriculture wants an experiment with pig apartments. That's what they call them. So, and then the whole idea blew up in our face, because then our parliament started asking questions to the minister. Are you going mad here? Do you know what we want as a society? This is the bio-industry, enlarged. So the small farms are bad, and you propose here to put 300,000 pigs, that's what we wanted, in this harbor area. And I can imagine it very well, that society is resisting this idea. And I blame myself and other people, and we said to ourselves, we didn't do that very well, because we were just engineering. And from the technical point of view, this is a great idea. But if you look at it from the animal side of view, and I'm an animal scientist myself, I worked on animal welfare, so that's also crazy. So my professor, where I did my PhD, he called me up and said, well, what is this crazy idea of you? And well, I explained because I think if you have a large-scale farm, you can also offer the pigs more space than in a small-scale farm where you have low margins, and you could really make an example also on the animal welfare side, but that's only technological reasoning, and it's not really picked up by society. So the idea was gone, and the farmers' organization said, okay, this will be the supermarket, and our farmers are the small grocers. They will disappear if this comes true. So that was our attempt, and I only met resistance and discussions, and of course also people who said it is a great idea, but you have to wait or do it elsewhere in the world. We tried it in Shanghai. For some other reasons it didn't work out there also, and also a reason was that the people from China wanted to see the first prototype. When we were talking to them for 1 year, they said, okay, good idea, we can do it, but show us the prototype you have in Holland. And then we said, what prototype? So there is nothing there. Well, they said, okay, so we are just your guinea pig, eh? I said, no, but they didn't want to do it. So it shows that it's really difficult. You meet resistance from society, and I think Plantagon did it much is and I heard, oh, yeah, many things that I say, okay, that's also a lesson that we learned, and Plantagon is doing it, and I think they can be very successful, and also because of they don't use any pigs or animals, because that's really a hot discussion. And then again, when it didn't succeed in Rotterdam, we tried it in Amsterdam, this Amsterdam harbor. We made a much more beautiful design, I think, with the greenhouse situation. But in fact, it was the same concept. It were many pigs also. And I believe pigs belong to a city. You have certain cities in the world where pigs are running around eating the remains of the food which is left there, and they grow on it and they are slaughtered afterwards. So I think pigs can play a role in this circular economy, but if you do it like this, then it doesn't work out. So that's also why I was a little bit emotional last night, because we met so many resistance. We stopped this project actually in 2004. And I think, and after that, of course, we went on with some different ideas. I will tell you about it in a few minutes. But actually last night was the first time that we were rewarded and recognized officially by an organization who is also striving for the same goals. So, thank you very much and appreciate it. Okay, I'll speed up a little bit and show you some of the concepts. This is the Dutch pavilion on the Expo in 2000 in Germany. And it's a vertical farm, in fact. There are also mushrooms there are tomatoes there are no animals, but it's vertical. And you see that this architect, he made an artist impression of what a vertical farm could look like already in 2000. And he also made in 2002 some designs for a 600-meter high building in Rotterdam. And they were not stacked stables and glass houses, they were stacked landscapes. So there were trees in it, there were pigs walking around in different areas. And they got no criticism, almost no, not criticism. And that's the strange thing, because they were in an artist environment and people immediately understood that this was an artist project and not something to be realized. And so the basic idea of concentrating agriculture in a few stacked farms, it was embraced by society, but only as an artist concept and not as a production concept. Well, then, okay, we moved on, as I said, 2004, we started with the project Greenhouse Village. And we said, okay, we have to make more sustainable greenhouses concerning the heating, the electricity, the waste treatment and the clean water. And we want to connect greenhouses with buildings to do that. And you see a picture of it here. I have to see, where is the... does this work? Is there a pointer in this? Sorry. Should be, eh? Where is the red dot here? The middle. Oh, okay. That's not. Oh, okay. The other middle. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's the other one. I needed another stick. Sorry. But how do I get back to where I was? Can you help me to get back to the slide? Because it was a bit of a difficult scheme, so I wanted to explain it. Yeah, that's going back. That's okay. No, the previous and then the one before that. No, I'm going forward again. Okay. Backwards, yeah. Yes, that's the one. Okay. Well, we started with the greenhouse here. And the first thing we did to make the greenhouse independent of natural gas was using the sunlight which comes into the greenhouse. And what happens in a normal greenhouse is that it gets too hot. Everybody who leaves his car in the sun knows that it gets too hot when you do that. And you open your windows and the heat goes out. But not here. What we do here is store the heat underground. So we can use it in the wintertime for heating the greenhouse. And we even have more heat than we need there. So with 1 hectare of greenhouse, we can heat 100 houses. So that's really a way to capture heat with a greenhouse. And we use a lot of technologies, fine copper wire, to in fact harvest the heat from the greenhouse and store it underground. And when we had this concept, so that's one concept, then we went one step further. We said, okay, if we connect houses and greenhouses, we can use the water, the wastewater, and also the sludge in the biogas plant, and then you get the normal process, waste treatment, biogas production, leaving over the drinking water, which you can also use for the plants again. So that it's in fact an integral system. It's connecting houses and greenhouses, and it's illustrating that in fact greenhouses and an urban area can be in a symbiotic existence. That is really an innovative idea which we had, and this one is really built. No animals there, so no objections from society. And that one is now built in Arnhem. It was built 5 years ago. Well, it's not, and we hoped more greenhouse farmers would invest in it, but still it's going very bad in the greenhouse sector in Holland. There is not much money to invest, and energy prices are still relatively low, but we expect if energy prices go up and we come out of the crisis, then this concept will be used in many more places. And it's even something which you could think of as Plantagon to do in your greenhouses. For instance, heating the offices which are in the back of your greenhouse, using the heat coming from the greenhouse. So that's a synergy which is really logical. Okay, how much time do I have yet? Can somebody tell me? 6 minutes. 3, almost 3, okay. So, to show you that we almost were self-sufficient regarding heating, electricity, nutrients, so we keep them in the system. And we have different configurations. You can integrate greenhouses and houses, but you can also build, like in this picture, the greenhouse is very close to the houses. Or you can separate it and only have a heat transfer there and a transfer of water and nutrients. So that's the basic idea of this. And just to show you a little bit about the proximity of the greenhouses and the houses in Holland. You see the red roofs, and in between, well, that's a very extreme picture, but in between, you see here I'm sorry, it goes on, but so you could have a picture. It was just one area of greenhouses and houses combined. So in Holland it's very easy to do this concept, only you need new houses. So you need houses with heating in the walls and the floors to really use the heat coming from the greenhouse. So it can only be done when it's built new. And okay, we are greenhouse farmers, greenhouse horticulturists. We are building with green and light. We're using plants to optimize the climate in a working environment. So in houses, plants are very good at a lot of things. They make the air more humid. They capture fine dust also in your living room, but also, for instance, in hospitals and schools. And I think it's an area which is not really well addressed at the moment. So the climate inside rooms is really something which we can work on. I don't see many plants here, but they could have a very beneficial effect. Of course, they need light, so that's also a thing to think about. They improve well-being, they reduce noise. This is, and some of you have been to the Floriade. I spoke to some of you who were there. This building, this office building, is also built with support of InnovationNetwork, and it uses technology from the greenhouse sector for climatizing the rooms. It also uses the storage of heat underground, and it also has a lot of plants inside for the climate. And this is a school built on the same principle. Next slide is a plan. You can see that. It's clearly not a picture. We try to build a vertical greenhouse, or this company, it's an architect, but it's just at the beginning, a vertical greenhouse in our area, in our greenhouse area that I showed you before. But it's not a production, it's just a showcase for recreation, for offices, But it's only a plan. There is no location, exact location yet. There is no money yet. So we are well behind the Planticle development. Okay, I will skip a few things because of time. Aquaponics, you heard of it. And we are only in a very experimental stage yet. I think in Singapore they are much more developed, those kind of systems. We almost use it as an artist object. You see it in an exhibition here. And what this company is doing, it's called Mediamatic, this company. It's trying to do it also in kitchens, like you mentioned, on a small scale. Okay, I have to finish. Just to point out that it doesn't have to be monocultures inside a greenhouse, like it is nowadays. You have tomatoes, you have flowers and everything in monocultures. This is a mixed culture, it's called polydome. It's also in the conceptual phase. It's also combined with aquaponics, with fish, chicken. It produces high-value products for niche markets. And that's really a thing. If you do this kind of expensive systems in expensive areas of the world, in cities, then you really need high-value products. And of course there is a lot of research behind it. And this is the last one, but also that one was shown already. We have Plant Lab in Holland, and it works on LED lights for also growing plants. It's very efficient because you can get the exact wavelength that the plant needs. It was also shown in the Singapore presentation. So it's a worldwide development, I think. Prices of LEDs will go down a lot, we expect in the coming years. This kind of concepts need little space. They don't need any sunlight. So you don't have any shadow effects of upper floors and everything. You can do it inside.